How you doing and welcome to Neither a Music. I'm Ed. Today we're going to be looking at our third installment on concepts for Hey Joe, the Jimi Hendrix version. I started out by showing you the basic chords needed to play it, which were C, G, D, A, and E, all major. Then we went on to variations of those chords, C, G, D, A, and E, all as a bar. Then we went into a version that looked like a set of stairs, C, G, D, A, and E. From there, I showed you two patterns that work as embellishments for this style of song. So if you use the bar version of a chord, your pattern will go. If you use the stairs version of the chord, it'll go. This way, while you are playing, you can use these little extra pieces to assemble small embellishments while you are going through the pattern. For example, if I do C, G, D, A, E, just a low open E chord. 2, maybe the bar version of it. Okay? Remember that you don't have an enormous amount of time while this happens. So you are very limited in what you can do. This means that you'll have to play a lot of things at the same time. So instead of just playing the chord and then throwing in the pattern, you want to play the chord and the pattern at the same time. Then move on to the next one. Today we're going to be looking at the connections between the chords. Hendrix liked to use bass notes in order to connect all of these little pieces together. This way, while you're playing the embellishments, while you're playing the chord, there was always something happening. He liked to have something interesting happening at all times. So for an argument's sake, if I start out with a C chord, I can go right to this G bass note and then play the G stairs version of the chord. Then I could play an open D and maybe go to our regular D chord, to A, to open E. Okay? The use of open strings allowed him to jump from one section to another, using a half a beat time frame and not really worrying too much about how long it's going to take him to get to the next chord. This way he was focused more on landing the chord properly versus how quickly can I get there. This works a lot. So if I play this C, D, A, and you can notice that I can jump back and forth. So once you start incorporating the last chord in the sequence, the E, I end up with a lot of choices. And I can move around to different areas with those open strings quickly. The E provided us with the most amount of time. So once I add that part into the chord sequence, I end up with a lot of extra space. So I could play the open E and then let that ring because the E is going, the low E, and go right up to here. And then throw a pattern in. Since the E has 8 beats worth of time, that's where you can really do a lot of embellishments, and you can call it a solo, but it's not really. So let's take a look at this as an example, and then we'll show you a couple of other connecting pieces that might make moving through the bass line a little bit more unique. So, open C to G to D, A, E, E, so those are our main bass notes. You should take a moment and try to find those bass notes in as many different ways as possible, using the top 3 strings, strings 6, 5, and 4. Your C, G, open A, D, E are all in this first 3 frets. If we start including our frets 5 and 7, we have alternate versions of these bass notes. C, G, D, A, and E up here, which is an octave higher versus our open E. So now we could talk about other bass notes. When it comes to moving into a note, going from one note to another, and you would like to use a connection note between those two. In music, we call it a passing tone. You can use the note right before the letter you're going to, or the note right after the letter you're going to. So for argument's sake, if I take the note C, and I want to go to a G chord, G bass note, my choices are an F sharp going to a G, or an A going to a G. So if I only have 2 beats and I go 1 and 2, 3, 4, that connects us to that G chord pretty easily. Or I can go 1 and 2, 3. The F sharp provides us a little bit of a coloring to our pattern, considering that the F sharp is being played during the time of the C note. If I use that here, 1 and 2, 3, 4. So 1 and 2, 3, 4. Now I put a little embellishment with the beat number 4. This can be accomplished in a couple of different manners as you go throughout the song. We can then do something called a chromatic, which is we use a diatonic letter from the chord we're working with. In this case, if we use a C chord, there is no F sharp in the key of C. However, there is an F. So as long as I pass through this F, F sharp, G quickly, I could play that concept and it fits in. So 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3. Okay? This doesn't work as easily with the descending version of the connection. So yes, you can play A flat, G, but in terms of this particular song, it doesn't fit nearly as nicely as the ascending version of this idea. We can repeat this over and over and over again. So from D, I could do G sharp, A. I can do D. This pattern kind of gets to repeat itself just like all the embellishments that we were working on. I can go get to that A that way. So the connections used in the bass line aren't that hard to do, but it is just one more thing to think about, another concept to add to this patterning. This way, as you go through the song and you're learning it, you could throw in these unique characters while you're playing. And each time you stack another element on top of this, it sounds more and more like Hendrix's playing style. Will you ever be Jimi Hendrix? No. Will I ever be Jimi Hendrix? Definitely not. But you can mock his playing and make something that sounds completely yours, but in his vein. So if you like concepts like this, if you like lessons like this, please subscribe. Ring the little bell. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I'll try to answer them as best as possible. Good luck and good practice.